No one knows the only reason why I'm breathing is because of my kids' apologies. In advance, this will be a long one. I 32F have lived a hard life. Despite that, I used my metaphorical war wounds to be the best person I could possibly be. Need a shirt? Here's the one off my back. You need help. Let me drop everything to go to war for you. Life is filled with hateful and uncaring people. I have strived to be someone's light point. 4 years ago I met my partner 35 meters, who in a lot of sense is like me. Shortly into dating I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and was given the pension for surgery. Now we're chemo and surgery later. For me it wasn't. A second thought. I have 2 children, 10F, and 6 meters, now 14 and 10. Naturally, the recovery time would be around 2 months. My son is disabled, wheelchair-bound, nonverbal, and recently diagnosed with a genetics disorder out at 5. That was previously considered to be a human growth deficiency, and was on steroid injections. The injections my son was on caused major behavioral changes and self-mutilation. Upon bringing it up to our medical team, this was dismissed and advised for my son's well-being to remain on these injections relevant for later. There was no way around the fact that I needed help during recovery. Every single person in my life, friends and family, turned their backs and basically said sucks to suck. I was crushed and did not feel it be appropriate to ask my partner, who I had only been dating for a few months at that time, to help. In short, I did not need to ask, he just did. Dropped everything in his life to move in with me and take care of me during recovery and the responsibilities of extremely rebellious preteen and my special needs son. I was stunned and fell harder for the one person who was willing to help in a detrimental time of need. This recovery time has since become such a valued and cherished memory for myself and my partner. Shortly after recovery, while still regaining my strength, my son had an escalation episode during dinner time, which resulted him falling from his chair to the floor. He was unconscious and unresponsive. I was working from home, my partner wanting to give me a break, fed my son so I did not have to rush on my only break. 15 minutes before going back to work, my partner came and got me. I logged off and we took my son to the closest emergency room. To us. Please note this is in Canada in 2022, where there were still some COVID restrictions. We were admitted and in trauma bay immediately, where the hospital staff did virtually nothing. Checked his stats, drew blood, and left us alone for 3 hours. 3 hours with my son, unconscious. The doctor and nurses would periodically poke their heads in, telling us to do anything we could to wake my son up, eat, tickle his feet, whatever we could do to wake him. Eventually we were able to do that, and my son was enraged. While trying to manage my son from harming himself and trashing the doctor, came in and kept asking if this behavior was normal. I said, for when he is upset. Yes, this is a normal reactions for him when he is upset. What I did not know at that time was that answer alone was all the doctor needed to wash her hands of any medical responsibilities she had while my son was in the care of the hospital. We were discharged with the following advice. 1. Monitor. 2. Call our neurospecialist to book a follow. UP3. Call 911 if he falls unconscious, again not including typical sleep. And go the children's hospital. Remember setting up our security camera in his room that night, and stayed up watching the footage from my phone. The following 3 days, my son was lathered. Up to the fall, we had been doing physio at home to encourage walking and growth. I had always been told he would get there someday if we could put in the work, and we had made amazing progress. He couldn't walk as far as before. My son's legs would give out. He was cranky, but too tired to escalate into fits. We brought back his old specialty chair for safety, and took a step back on what we had been working on to assure my son's safety was met without any room for accidents or mistakes. We called and made appointments, and was told not to think too much into it. He was fine. Every concern I brought up, I was told to not overreact, and was dismissed. Monday. Night again after supper, getting ready for quiet time. My partner was walking with my son. My son's legs give out, and my partner allows him to sit and rest before trying again. My son pushes back to lay on the floor. My partner picks him up to his feet and encourages the last few steps to bed. Legs give out, and his head flops forwards. He was unconscious again. Immediately call 911 and were rushed to Children's Hospital. While in the trauma bay, the doctor and team were making comments about his size, that he was too small and appeared to be malnourished. Multiple times I said no, he has a growth deficiency. He's on these medications for it. They would act as if I said nothing and continue on. I shared about our visit to emergency on Friday, about what they said. I may as well have not said anything at all. My focus on my son and feeling shut down for this would be the second trauma bay visit. In less than a week's time, I watched my son be swarmed by a barrage of doctors, techs for MRI and X-ray, feeling a bit of relief that my son was actually being cared for. My son ended up needing surgery that night to remove a blood clot and would be in a medical-induced coma and in PICU for the time to come. Social workers pushed for us to sleep elsewhere and not in his room, eventually convincing me to stay in a parent room overnight under the guise of needed rest, because the following day would be busy. The reason was because Child Protective Services (CPS) and the police would be pulling me into an investigation the very next morning. Now I have gone to school to become a social worker and recently graduated with honors the summer before all of this went down. I know this would be a standard process. With that being said, I believed the best way forward was to be honest and forthcoming. Let them do their job so that we could focus on my son's recovery. This entire experience has taught me to never trust police and CPS. They do not care about the truth, they care about how many cases they can resolve. We stopped the hormone injections against medical advice. The injections stayed effects with pressure in the brain and clots. The medical team to this day refused to look into the injections having any part to play in his behavior change. Being off of it is an act of God's mercy. Verbatim, we were abusers in the eyes of the hospital, police and family services. Because I was working during both incidents, they could not go after me, so they went after my partner instead. We had to be supervised for a year under CPS, who only closed the case when I requested a third-party social services agency to evaluate our family over 4 months and advocated for us. In my workers' words, I wish all families functioned like yours. I don't understand why CPS is involved this deeply. This post is getting long, so in point-blank fashion, I will summarize what we have gone through since the initial interview with CPS and local police. 1. Nursing staff pulling me aside, telling me to lawyer up, and that the police and CPS had poor intentions too. Both partner and I were arrested and held for questioning 8 hours, for me 12 hours for my partner. 3. Threatened by police for listening to our lawyer's advice. 4. Lost income, which resulted on my car to be repossessed. 5. Breach of privacy in the early stages, telling my mom that my partner abused my son. 6. Isolated by friends and family. 7. Disinherited on both sides of family. 8. Criminal charges which we are currently fighting that legal battle. 9. $200,000 in legal fees and counting. 10. Job changes which led my partner to work out of town to pay these legal fees. 11. Mental health deterioration for my daughter, my partner, and myself. I am living Murphy's Law. Throughout, however, I have remained positive. Surely this will pass. We are all in therapy, and I try to focus on the positives. My rebellious teen mellowed out, and her and my partner have an amazing relationship to the point that she views him as dad. My son prefers my partner over me, if given the choice. Recovery for my son went amazing. We were told he would be a vegetable, but the hospital was very much wrong. He is back to who he was before his injury, and since we stopped the hormone injections, he no longer has episodes of thrashing and hitting. There are very much an army of people who believe us, who have shared their own stories of medical negligence, malpractice, who look at the evidence and go, yep, this is a joke. For family and friends who believe us have simultaneously accepted that the challenges we are still facing is considered our new normal. In result, have moved on with their lives, with the occasional "you're still dealing with this. Oh, well, that sucks." Forgotten. These last few days have brought me to making this post. Payroll overpaid me for a month. Without my knowledge, and my pay has been decreased severely this coming pay. I do not have enough to pay bills and groceries, or to even afford the out-of-pocket cost for my antidepressants. My partner's bank account was hacked last night, and all funds were depleted. Food banks have a month waiting list, and on paper, I make too much money for social supports. I am drowning and no longer can say and believe that everything will be okay in the end. I have sole custody of both my children. In short, my daughter's dad was my high school sweetheart, who I left when he became an addict and refused help. My son's dad has dissociative personality disorder, which lay dormant, undetected and undiagnosed. Until 3 years into our relationship, he refused to seek help, and for the safety of my children and myself, I left. He moved provinces, and has not attempted contact or support in the last 7 years to date. I have done everything right to the letter of the book. I believe in mental health. I know how to support my family, and I am not afraid to leave a relationship if it is going to cause harm to my children or myself. I cannot bring myself to end it due to the chance my children would end up in their respected father's care. I will not risk the chance of them not having a good life, even if that means I must suffer so great. I know with every fiber of my being my partner did nothing wrong, and even reflecting back, that has only been reinforced. My partner has been the most patient and kind human that I have ever met. He is the person who has actually sacrificed everything in his life, including his potential freedom, because he loves my kids as if they were his own, and he loves me. It tears me to shreds feeling that, if he had never met me, that he would not have lost so much. My life's end would pay off the rest, if the legal fees. It would also provide my children a nice inheritance, simply due to my life insurance. I have to actively convince myself every day to keep moving forward. I needed to get this off my chest, and for those who made it this far, thank you. And for those who want to have children or have children, install cameras in the main parts of your home. Your privacy is a price you should pay to save your freedom. With Leuven.